Well, well.
My
First,
brother.
what's going, my brother? How you feeling, bro? How you feeling? How you feeling?
Good, man. Good. I feel like with everything going on in the world today, it's amazing to have days where somehow, you still have joy, and that's how I feel today. So,
Yeah,
I'm excited about the
yeah.
future um of our nation, of our world, and more immediately, I'm excited to be here with you, bro.
Hey, the trust me, the honor and the privilege, the pleasure is all mine for sure. Trust me, trust and believe. You're the uh, you're the Hollywood one out of the group of us,
Oh,
and so
stop it. Stop it. Not even.
not even, not even,
Listen,
not
all
even.
these grad, I gotta figure out how you do all of this. See, you the Hollywood. I don't know how you got all of this. This looks really nice, man. You got my Instagram handle on here. This is nice.
I don't know if it's necessarily Hollywood. I just might be able to do a thing or two in the graphic world. That's probably
Hey,
what
listen,
that is.
this
That's
is
probably
more than a thing or two. This is nice.
what
This is nice.
Before we get started, first of all, for those that are tuning in, please like and share,
Let's do it.
comment, ask questions. We're just having a conversation among us. We're talking about our culture, of course. We're talking about our world. We're talking about the things that we do. I'm excited that you tuned in. I'm super. If only one person tuned in, I would legit be excited. I'm not a big numbers person. I am big, big, big on getting a message across because for me, thousands might see, but it might help one. And I'm all about helping that one. Before we really kick off, the shirt I'm wearing is from Thomas Cody and the Momentum Gathering.
Shout out to T Cody.
Shout out to Cody. That's my guy, our guy. Also, our part panelist on He Say, She Say with the YLC singles chat. And so that's our brother, that's our guy. This is his gear. And so I'm definitely excited to not only be able to be a brother, but to be able to partner and to be able to share his brand. Tonight, we're talking about leadership, and we're talking about leadership as it pertains to our world, our community, our culture, of course, as it pertains to the things that are going on. Leadership is a little bit more broad of a subject than we really think. It's simple, but it's perplexed. And what better man to have speak on this than Mr. Leadership himself.
Oh man, you're too kind. Thank
uh,
you, sir.
the people already know. I don't really have to do much talking. I think we can jump right into it. Just kind of give us a little bit of your background and then go right into what you feel leadership is.
Okay. So for those of you who I'm having the pleasure of meeting virtually tonight, my name is Lawrence Scott, and I am a passionate learner. And what I choose to learn about most is leadership. I feel like I've had some unique opportunities. I am raised in the church, of the church. I am a fifth generation church boy. Which is an interesting story. We used to always say that we were the first. This is interesting. This is actually the first time I'm telling this to anybody. So we used to
Okay.
always say that I was the fourth generation
Okay.
of like ministers and all this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then we learned that my great grandfather, he had his father was actually in ministry as well. He wasn't a pastor, but he
Right.
was like, he was a minister. And then my great grandfather was, he kind of started the church and whatnot, and
Yeah.
then so on and so forth. So I've been raised in unique opportunities and spaces where I've been privy to leadership conversations. I've been privy to rooms that I probably shouldn't have been in, and
Yes, sir.
all throughout my time growing up, kind of led me into the space that I am now. So I ended up going to West Point and graduated there with my degree in economics and in French.
Okay.
So between the time that I left home and graduated school, I was inundated and reinforced with leadership. West Point is by far, I don't care what you say about your school, but I'm gonna talk about mine. And West Point is what we call the preeminent leadership institution of the world. And I don't just say that because I like to brag, but I say that because the world says that, right?
Yeah.
I think something interesting is that we always like to talk about like ourselves and we tell other people what we do or how we
Yeah.
are, but really the world is going to be your testimonial, right? Like
Could be anyway.
it should be. And
Yeah. I agree.
this is what the world is saying. And I can attest to that because I sat next to princes in class. I sat next to the sons of presidents in class. I mean, the nations send their youth to West Point to learn how to lead their countries. And this was the environment that I was kind of reinforced in. And even now I have the opportunity to incorporate some of those same things right back here at West Point with the young men of the Army football team. And I've had a bunch of different things happen to me in terms of different positions that I've held in terms of pastoring and doing some work in the military. So I've kind of seen leadership from a bunch of different angles, whether it's in the sports world, the church world, the military, and it is really a passion of mine. So I'm excited that I get a chance to talk to you about it and whoever else is in here. First of all, if you don't know already, based on some of the stuff that you've seen out there online, I don't like to mince words. I'm very tactical with them, but we're gonna have some real talk tonight. So do me a favor, share this, because I feel like one of the things that is most important right now in this world, to answer the second part of your question, bro, is leadership. And what I believe leadership to be is influence. Meaning, if I have the ability to influence anybody in any way, whether it's a sister, a brother, a coworker, a friend, a parent, a boss, everybody is a leader because everybody has at least one person that they have influence with.
Yeah.
Meaning it's our job to learn how to steward that influence so that we do it in a proper way and that people are better for being influenced by us and not worse.
Yes, sir.
So I believe leadership to simply be influence. And I think that it is the most important thing that we need right now in this world is positive influencers.
Yes, sir. I totally agree. I kind of I feel the deep calling even now. So early in this show, I feel the deep calling already. But once again, if you haven't shared, please share. For some reason, this stuff keeps posting to my page privately. And so I just tweaked it. It's now public. I do not know why that was a thing. So if you haven't shared, please share. Let people that need to hear this conversation know that we're talking about something that is really, really important to our today, not to our yesterday, but to our today and our tomorrow. Lawrence, fill me in on this right here. I believe that leaders beget leaders. I really believe that. I really do believe that. I do believe that they're the called, but I also believe that the called are put in position to be led in order to fulfill their calling. One of my greatest examples is a Martin Luther King. You look at him and his history of leadership is huge, through the roof. His history of leadership and where he came from is sky high. And then you look at his impact, as you said, his influence, and his influence also was matching of the leadership he received. Talk to me about what you feel about that subject. And do leaders come from good stock leadership wise? Do they come from other good leaders?
I think leaders are either, I'll say this, I think that good leaders,
yes, sir,
are either coming from good stock, or were cut from bad stock. Because the reality of it is we're always learning, whether it's positive or negative. Just because you had a bad leader doesn't mean that you didn't learn how to not be a leader.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So I I once again, my belief is that everyone is a leader because everyone has at least one person that they can influence positively.
Yeah.
And let's even bring up the example that you brought up in terms of Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
One thing that we often forget with people who have led on big levels and big stages is they all started from somewhere, right?
Yes, sir.
They all started. Martin Luther King didn't start by influencing millions of people. He started by influencing one person.
Yep.
Right? He had to influence one person. He had to influence one person to be on his team. He had to influence one person to help him campaign. He had to influence one person to help him set up speeches. He had to
Yeah.
influence. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So we all have to realize that because some of us right now, some of your listeners right now don't believe that they are on the level of a Martin Luther King, but that
Right.
doesn't mean that there isn't a Martin Luther King in them.
In them. Yes, sir. I
They
agree.
just have to realize that they have to start somewhere and start influencing the people that God's given them. And you brought up something that I think is really important. I think we should expound on when you talk about people's calling and then being put in position. Because
Yeah.
here's what a lot of people mix up. They mix up the position for the call itself.
Yes, they do.
I might be called to something, but what I'm called to may manifest itself in different positions, in
Yep.
different roles, right?
Yep.
So for instance, the responsibility, here it is, the responsibility is separate from the role. God put me here for a particular responsibility to the earth, but my role looks different in carrying that out.
Yeah.
So you talked about my background real quick. So after I graduated from West Point, I went into the military. My role was a leader in the military.
Yeah.
Once I left the military, I had a separate role at a church.
Yeah.
Once I left that church, I had a separate role with a football team.
That's good.
Now watch this. My responsibility was the same in all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
My calling didn't change. I'm called to help people change their lives. I'm called to help people lead. I'm called to help multiply leaders. That's what leaders do. They multiply. They don't amass followers. They amass leaders. Woo! So that's my calling. So because that's my calling, I didn't switch my calling when I got into a different role.
Right. Right.
I still had the same responsibility to lead people, had the same responsibility to love people, had the same responsibility to influence people. The role just shifted.
Yes, it did.
So the important part is we don't get this thing mixed up where we say, here it is, I'm called to be a pastor. No, you're not.
Lauren.
No, you're not. You're not.
I feel toes hurting right now, Lawrence.
See, because once again, pastoring is a role. You see what I mean?
Talk, bro.
So I may not be called to be a pastor. I may be called to a specific demographic, right? God has called me to this community. God has called me to this city. Absolutely. God has called me. Now, what role are you supposed to take in that city, in that community, to this demographic, to those people? So don't get mixed up because you see people on Instagram and you see what they're doing and you're saying that's what they were called to.
Right.
They were graced for it.
Right.
But their calling is separate. And that's why separate. This is, I don't want to go. I'm going to go there.
You might as well.
That is why there are some churches.
Okay.
God, let me stay away from that. All right, let me stay away from that. Let me stay away from that.
No, Lord.
Elijah, that is why there are some organizations, there are some teams, there are some companies that fail because they're trying to replicate someone else's function.
Right. Right.
I'm not called to do what they do, but we may have similar roles.
Yes, sir.
Meaning, there might be one organization that's called to feed the homeless.
Yeah.
There may be another organization that's called to feed single-parented families.
Yeah.
They're both feeding people.
Yeah.
But who they're called to is different.
Yes, sir.
I'd be a fool to say that because I see them feeding the homeless, that I have to switch up my whole operation to start feeding the homeless when God didn't call me to the homeless.
Bro.
He called me to the people who were single-parented homes.
Come on, bro.
I gotta be okay with who I'm called to. And if my role shifts, if my role is not to feed them anymore, but it's to help them with education, then that's what I do. But I have to know where I'm called so that I can step into the proper role. And And let's go back to the initial question. Are you coming from good stock, right?
Yep.
If you're under good leadership, they're not telling you.
I need you to go there. I don't know what this holdback is.
Listen, bro.
I need y'all comment. Y'all refute this spirit of holdback. I don't like this.
Here's something that I really truly believe in, bro. I don't believe in I'm very careful with criticism because I don't like to criticize seats that I don't sit in.
Yes, sir.
Now I've sat in many seats, but currently I'm not sitting in many seats that I'm passionate about. So I'm very careful about my language toward them. But if you're under good leadership, a good leader can help direct you and help you find that calling and help you kind of decipher that. But he or she is not trying to make you into them. They're not automatically saying, because I was called to these people that you are too.
Yeah.
You see, the difference is just because I have influence with you doesn't mean that you have influence with who I have influence with.
That's true.
Just because I trust you doesn't mean that I trust who you trust.
Yeah.
So you got to be very careful about being in spaces where leaders try to not multiply leaders, but to multiply themselves.
Yeah.
To say, I've done it this way. This is the way you got to do it, right? Or I'm called to this community, so therefore you have to be called to this community. That's not the case, right? Yeah. Now, many times when we're talking about leadership, many times our hearts will be for the same things, and there's something in them that calls to you in a way that they can be mentored. You can be mentored by them. That's a whole separate conversation. Absolutely. But when we're talking about leadership principles and sitting under good leadership and where you're coming from, they can help you find that calling. They can help you find those different roles that you can sit in and help you manage those. But they're not trying to suggest that you have to sit in those same roles. It would be foolish of me, as let's say I'm a head coach of a football team. It would be foolish of me as the head coach of a football team to say to the quarterback that I want him to call plays on defense.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right.
That's not his role.
Yeah.
That ain't even his calling, right?
At all.
So we have to realize that when, as leaders, everybody ain't going to do the same thing that we do, and they ain't going to do it the same way that we do it. Our job is to help them cultivate what's in them so that they can make the world around them a better place.
Yes, sir.
And that's what I've committed my life to. That's what I've committed my life to learning how to do.
Yes, sir.
I'm young. I'm a young guy. I don't have it figured out. I'm learning every day, hoping that the stuff that I'm learning can help others step closer into, without limitation and without judgment, who they're called to be, so that they can find the role that they're supposed to fit in.
Yeah. Man, you just unpacked a lot. We one question in, Doc.
Bro, I am passionate about this stuff, man, and I think especially in our communities, bro.
Yes, sir.
And I mentioned this the other day on He Say She Say when we were all chatting about this, but like, I think especially in our communities, we have a false representation of ourselves, you know, and it's like, if I don't get a chance to see me in different spaces and places, then I may capitulate to something that I've seen, and not necessarily something that is for me.
Yeah.
So if I've only seen people who look like me play football,
that's all
I might only feel like I can play football.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
which is why it was so important for us to see a Black president. It was important for us to see Black astronauts. It's important for us to see people in spaces who look like us, so that we can be represented in those places, so that we know, hey, listen, maybe I'm called to go in that place.
Yeah.
If you never see it, then it's kind of hard to seize it, right?
Yes, sir.
But I'm passionate about it, bro. And I think especially in our communities, we don't always see it. And when we do see it, we feel like we get stuck into these footholes of the ways that people before us have done them. Yeah. And a part of my life's mission is to liberate us from these things that continue to hold us back from where we're really supposed to go. Yeah. And not feel like because here it is, not feel like because mama was the person leading the prayer meetings on Monday, that I'm supposed to lead the prayer meetings on Monday night.
Reverend,
Mama may have gotten that intercessory spirit, but maybe that's just not for you, right?
right.
Or watch this. Oh, golly, don't do it.
Work here.
Don't do it.
It's on you
Um,
tonight, Doc.
so once again, bro, that's my passion,
Yes,
and
sir.
I don't like to see God's people not live free. He came that we might have life and life more abundantly.
Yes,
and
yes,
in order to experience that life, we have to first be liberated from the life that we thought we were supposed to live. And that requires leadership.
Yee. Bro, I mean, honestly, if you want to go ahead and drop the mic right now, you've given us 23 good minutes of a good question. If you're done and too much virtual has left, listen, we're
No, sir. No, sir.
Lawrence, you working, bro. Talk to me. We are not just the leaders. This generation is not just the leaders of tomorrow. In the past, it's been, between 20 and 30 and 35. We're grooming you leaders. The old generation was, we're grooming you leaders to become the leaders of tomorrow when we're gone.
Yeah.
We are now, the new generation is now the leaders of today.
Yes.
There is no longer we're going to pass the mantle down to you. No, it's like it's like as soon as you kind of get on the scene, it's like mantles are falling. What is the importance of this generation stepping into the places that we're supposed to be, but also now in a different time frame than it's been in the past? Not, we're not waiting for, the big doc to die or anything. Like it's like responsibilities are happening now. What's the importance of that for us?
Bro, I think one of the most important things is that we don't forget that we don't run the race alone. And if any of you, so when I was in high school, I ran track, and we had myself, my brother, and then two other gentlemen. We were on a 4x1 team, and this particular 4x1 team went undefeated this particular year that I was in high school. When we were undefeated from the time we stepped on the track all the way through the state championships, won first place, right?
Yeah.
And if there was one thing that we worked on more than anything, we all had the speed, but we only had to maintain the speed. We all had relationship, but we just had to maintain the relationship. But the one thing that we always had to work on consistently to get better and better and better in order to win the race, passing the baton. If we didn't learn how to pass the baton to one another, then it didn't matter how fast we were, didn't matter how smart we were, didn't matter how much we loved each other on and off the track. But if we never learned how to pass the baton, then we could have never won the race.
Yeah.
I think when we think about the race that we are in right now in terms of life and leadership, we have to remember that this isn't a solo race.
Yeah.
It's a relay. And there are some who are at this moment and have already extended the baton.
Yeah.
Many of us have taken off running before we gotten it. So there were these things that we would put on the track, bro. Like you put these markers on the track, and when you put the marker on it, the marker indicated when the runner is coming in and they pass that marker, it's time for me to take off running, so that by the time they get to me,
yes, sir,
I can extend my hand and take the baton and run.
Yes, sir.
We misplaced our markers, bro. We didn't put them out. We saw them coming, and then we said, you know what? They've ran enough. It's time for me to start running. And we didn't take the baton. And what happens when you don't take the baton? You get disqualified. Many of us are getting disqualified from leadership positions because we refuse to take the baton. We refuse to stay in our lane and take the baton. We see somebody else is taking off before us, but it didn't matter. When I was at the state meet, bro, this was crazy. At the state meet, the team that we had a rival with all year, they came in before my guy came in. He got the baton before I got it. He took off before I took off. But the only difference was I waited for my guy, the guy who was leading before me, to hit my mark. And once he hit that mark, then I took off. And it's because I took off at the right mark. I didn't leave too early. I didn't leave too late. I was able to get the baton right on time. And wouldn't you know that we won that race? We couldn't have won if I was worried about how quick he took off.
Couldn't
We couldn't
have.
have won if I was worried about how far ahead he was in me. I had to believe that I had enough in me to go and get him. A lot of us are taking off too soon. So when I think about the question in terms of these mantles that are getting passed down, that these positions that are getting opened up, and let me be clear. Now I know both of us are in similar spaces, bro, but let me be clear. Mantles aren't just in the church. There are mantles in music. There are mantles in art. There are mantles in performance and entertainment. There are mantles. Yes, in the church. There are mantles in politics. Yes, mantles are falling all over us. I don't know if y'all looked at the news recently, but the mantles are falling. People are calling for us to take off. But if we don't stay in our lane, if we don't realize that maybe somebody else's lane is the church, but maybe mine is politics, maybe somebody else's is entertainment, but maybe mine is in writing. No, like if you don't stay in your lane and you try to run somebody else's race, then some mantle won't get picked up because you were trying to run somebody else's race. It's important for us to realize that, yes, these mantles are falling, but the people who are trying to pass them to us, they're reaching out. Some of them are reaching out. They're trying to pass that baton, and we have to be the ones with enough humility to say that they had it first. I accept it, and I'll run my race. It doesn't mean that I have the same form of running that they have. It doesn't mean that I have the same speed that they have. I just have to know that whatever is in me can carry that baton. It ain't got nothing to do with how fast they ran. It didn't have nothing to do with whether or not they used the right dorsiflexion of the toe. It didn't matter. Only thing that matters was that they were carrying what I was supposed to carry. And it's time for me to pick it up. And I've thought about this recently too, bro. I think right now in this space, the baton that Martin Luther King carried is about to be picked up.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
The baton that Malcolm X carried is about to be picked up.
Bro, yes, it is.
The baton that Seymour carried is about to be picked up. The baton that Graham carried is about to be picked up. We are in a space. I don't care how young you are. Listen to me. I don't care how young you are. I don't care how old you are. If there's something meant for you to carry, it's in your lane.
Yeah.
Don't get out of your lane. Stay right there. Wait for it to come to you and take off. And when you take off, here was the key. If I took off, there was no looking back. I couldn't look back to see whether or not somebody was catching up to me. I couldn't look back to see whether or not the person who passed me the baton was okay. I couldn't afford to. Why? Because I had a race to run. Once you catch it, once it's there, take off and don't look back. You got a race to. The people behind you are counting on you. The people who are carrying this are counting on you. The people who have struggled, oh my goodness, especially in our communities, bro, the people who have struggled to bring us to the point that we are today are counting on us. And if we get out of line, if we get out of our lane, we won't carry it further faster.
Yes. Come on. Come on, Cody.
Yeah, man. I feel like yes, they're falling, those mantles, and I don't necessarily. We were using the example of the track, and so it's not necessarily falling in terms of passing, right? These things are getting passed along, and it's time for us to look at them with humility and say, it's time for me to carry it, and I won't carry it the same way, but I'll carry it the best way that I can. And we have to learn from them. We have to learn from those who carried it before us. We have to have enough humility to do that. We have to have enough curiosity to do that, I think, because for those who started the race, it's just as important to them how we finish it.
Yes.
So yeah, bro, I think we have to know who we are. We have to know what we're called to, and we have to know the different time, because roles have seasons, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, they do.
So we just have to know what season we're in so that we step into the correct role. but not necessarily thinking that that role is our calling. If my call is to unite people, then I can do that from different spaces.
Yes, you
I
can.
just have to know what season I'm supposed to be in
Yep.
doing that.
Yep.
So know who you are, connect with that purpose, spend some time allowing God to show you what that is,
Yes, sir.
and surround yourself with mentors, surround yourself with people who have a heart for your purpose. And let me go here real quick. I know I've been talking for a while, but let me go here real quick.
You might
When I
as
say
well.
surround yourself with people who have a heart for your purpose,
Yeah.
you have to surround yourself with people who have a heart for your purpose, because if you don't, what you'll end up with is surrounded by people who have a heart for your presence.
Yep.
And if they care more about your presence than they care about your purpose, they will let you stay with them far longer than you ever were supposed to.
Yep. That's true. That's true.
Bro, I have seen so many times where we have stayed in a season for far too long wearing the wrong clothes because we valued presence more than purpose. I want to be, or I want you with me more than I want you to fulfill your destiny.
Yep.
I want
Yep.
you to be around more than I want you to be around those that you're called to.
Yep.
And if I'm committed more to you being around me than you fulfilling your purpose, then I won't ever really push you into it. I can't help you find it. I can't help you see what that looks like. I can't help you decipher which role you're supposed to be in this season.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm more concerned about you being with me
Yeah.
than you being with who you're supposed to be with,
Absolutely.
leading those who you're supposed to be leading.
Yeah.
So surround yourself with people who truly have a heart to see you do everything that God put you on this earth to do. Those will be the people who can help you go into that destiny and into that place that you're supposed to be leading people. And once you do that, once you spend some time with God, allow
Yeah.
him to show you, spend some time with people who have a heart for your purpose, all of those collectively can't lead you astray.
Yeah.
Why? This is what the Bible says. The Bible says that there is safety in the multitude of good godly counsel, right?
That's what it says.
So if we are in that multitude, then there will be some hints for those of you guys who are struggling with that, trying to figure out what that purpose is so that you can step into some of these roles. The people around you who have a heart for your purpose, they'll hint to you what it is.
Yeah.
They'll hint to you. They say, you know what, you are
And
really, you're
I'm
really
coming
good.
there, Lawrence. Lawrence, that's the next stop on this bus is, first of all, whoa, number one. Number two, the next stop on this bus is in us moving into those leadership roles, in us moving into those places that God needs us to be in order to fulfill certain things. How important is it to make sure that we are either falling under leadership or being mentored by the people or persons with the right eyesight for where we should be going? I can honestly say that one of the main reasons I'm in the shoes I'm in right now and I'm in the place that I'm in is because there were people that were looking and watching, and they could see what's next before I necessarily saw it. Because truth be told, we're going to be focused on making what's in our hands work. If you're any good at what you do, then you understand that your first job is to be consistent and to be full of quality in the place that you're in. And so sometimes it takes that other person to be like, hey, look, you're doing a great job right here. I need you to look here. And it seems as though as soon as that leader or mentor says that, it seems as though things just start moving in a certain place to where it starts aligning with the words of that leader or the words of that mentor. How
Yeah.
important is it for us to be lined up with the right leader and or mentors that can see that future, sometimes to validate when we've thought about it or to push us into a place that we didn't see?
Um, with my players, I don't link my senior players up with young guys to mentor until I've linked them up with mentors. I believe that in order to lead, you must first be led.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy for any leader to feel alone, and when you don't have a leader, you feel alone. There's nobody that I can take my leadership questions to. There's nobody that I can
Wow.
bounce things off of. And what ends up happening is you end up bouncing these things off of those that you're leading. You end up complaining to those that you're leading. You end up regurgitating your frustrations to those that you're leading, and they don't know what to say. They don't know what
Right.
to do. They don't know what to do with that. So it's really important that we find ourselves under leadership. So I guess to directly answer this question, it is very important for any of us, if we are in a place where we're discerning what that call is, if we're discerning who we are called to lead,
Yeah.
who we are called to influence. Because I think that word sometimes gets people a little scared when they think about leadership. Oh my goodness! But really, like, who are you called to influence, right? There might be a mother on here right now. You're called to influence your family. If there might be a brother on here, you're called to influence your siblings. Like, influence just means that you have the ability to influence, right? It's the ability to have some sort of impact on someone's mind, on their emotions, on their progress in life. So if you have the ability to influence someone, it's really important that you are under positive influence, because that person can help push you toward those who need you.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it's extremely important. And I think when you submit yourself to someone else's influence, it gives you space to work some things out before you have to work some things out.
Yeah.
It gives you a space, it gives you a safe space to
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that is, we see it a lot, right? You see when somebody is leading in public spaces and they might make a mistake, or they
Yeah.
may say the wrong thing. They don't get space to work that out,
Yeah.
because everybody's seen it, everybody's heard it. So it's like, whoa, that they just made a mistake, and they
This is
don't get,
viral now.
it's viral.
Yeah.
But you have to wonder, you know what? Let me use this analogy, right? You ever stepped out of the house without shooting your fit to the fellas, like, you know what I mean? And you thought you were
You
killing,
knew
right?
you
You
were
were like,
killing.
yo, I'm killing with this one, right? Wherever you're going, I don't know where you're going, but wherever you're going, you thought you were killing. And then you step out into the public, you step out where people can see you, and it's like, yo, bro, this ain't it. And you could have sworn. Now you got to try to convince yourself that it looks good for the rest of the evening.
You have to.
Um,
You
but it's
have
the
to.
same kind of concept, bro. When we have people that we're accountable to, that
Yeah.
we submit to their influence,
Yeah.
they're the ones who can kind of give us that space to grow before we show, right?
Wow.
And we need that. We need space to figure some of these leadership dynamics out. We
Yeah.
need space to figure out how to have that tough conversation. We need space to figure out how to help somebody who doesn't necessarily know that they need help, right? We have to have space to figure some of this stuff out. And if you don't, then you're experimenting on people, and it's not fair to them.
Mm.
So it's extremely important that we have someone that we submit their under their influence, to say they have permission.
Wow.
They have permission to influence me. They have permission to affect the way that I think, to affect the way that I process. That's really, really important, because if you expect to do that to others, it's important that you allow at least one other person to do that for you.
Submission to influence.
Yes, bro.
Bro. Now I'm not even gonna lie to you. This is really good. This honestly should really, really, really help somebody out.
I'm
Um,
hoping, yeah.
because like you said, and as we, as a culture now we're saying is, if you're not going to that person, now you're, bleeding on the saints, or bleeding on, your the people that are submitted to your influence, that are submitted to your leadership. You're now bleeding down, because you have no place to necessarily bleed up. Talk to me about leadership, and I'm not going to ask this as a specific question. I'm going to leave this extremely general, because I want you to go where you want to go with it. Talk to me about leadership within our culture, but in the family. Leadership within our culture.
When you say within the family,
but
That's
within the
family.
family, in the household,
Oh, in the
in
house.
our households.
Whew, man, that's
I know that's this. Yeah, go ahead, make this your playground for a while.
What's so interesting is because I was on a phone call earlier today that was dealing with this exact thing. And so God has really gifted me, bro. And I have to say this, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't even tell you when I started hearing this, but even since I was a child, I would always confound adults with wisdom and knowledge, and like that's really, I think that's a spiritual gift. If
Absolutely,
like wisdom is a spiritual gift,
yes,
and
it is.
bro, so I'm really gifted with familial dynamics and leadership. And one of these days, I don't know when I'm going to do it, but one of these days, I am going to produce a series of content for all of our ministers, preachers, and pastors who work with their families.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times, the church is a family business.
yeah,
And I know that's been the case for my family for generations. And there's so many. And I think what goes unspoken are some of the dynamics that go intermingled in between them.
yeah,
And it ain't always pretty. And I know everybody sees Greenleaf, and you see these other shows out there that talk
right.
about it, but and while it's not as grander, of course, as TV wants to make it
Right.
out to be, the dynamics of emotions are real in that.
Yeah.
And I think when you start dealing with leadership and submitting to influence, like we just talked about, it's extremely important that we remember that your boss may also be your dad, may also be your mom.
Yeah.
And when you have familial dynamics and you have emotional ties and emotional breaks sometimes
Yeah.
between parent and child,
Yeah.
or even siblings, when you have to work together, it's almost impossible to separate those, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I'm really gifted in that area, so I'm going to start doing some content to that. But I guess more in a generalized way, when we start talking about leadership and influence within our community and our families, it's never okay. And I won't say never because I think we're seeing it now more than ever, but I think it's dangerous. But historically, we didn't rely on ourselves to lead ourselves.
Right.
If I'm next door neighbors with you, then I'm counting on you to influence my child as well. I'm counting on you to influence my siblings. I'm counting on the community to influence one another.
Yes.
Now, we could talk about the history of it in our Western culture in America when you started having some other influences come into our communities to ruin our influence with ourselves.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation. But the influence that we should have shouldn't only be in under our roof.
Yeah.
It doesn't do us any favors to say that, hey, listen, like I influence my child, right? But listen, when your child goes to school, they're being influenced by every other child there.
Every other child. That's true.
So it's a communal thing, it's a
Yeah.
community thing. And we have to start to accept our roles of influence that
Yeah.
we have in our own communities. Because once again, Martin Luther King didn't start off by speaking to 1,000 people in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I said 1,000, but you know what I mean, like a
Yeah.
bunch of people in
Yeah.
D.C. He started off by ministering in little rooms, like, so we have to take on our own ownership of our own influence within our communities so that our communities can be better, so that we collectively can be better. And that we talked about this before we did our live, but we talked about having safe spaces to be angry. We talked about safe spaces to process what's going on in our world.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we don't, once again, when you're in roles and in positions, you don't always get to work that out in public.
Right.
So where do you go? We have to become that for one another.
Yes, we do.
And here's the important part that I want to say. Uh, it may not be your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Wow.
I
Wow.
can't say that because I didn't cause this pain
Yeah.
and I didn't do that and I wasn't the one doing this, and
Yeah.
so that I don't have to deal with it.
That's
If
good.
it's in my world, if it's
Yeah.
in my community, it's
Yeah.
my responsibility. Why? Because I believe in influence. And if those whom I influence are dealing with it, then I'm dealing with it as well.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Influence or leadership is influence. And I can't say, well, I'm not a leader in that area. Well, do you know somebody who's in that area? Then you are, because you
Yep.
have influence.
Yep.
So we have to take ownership of that. And that starts with us. It
Yeah.
has always started with us. We've not ever, not saying that we don't have allies, we always have allies, but we have not ever, not in this country, not been the initiators of our own liberation. We have not ever not been the ones who made change for ourselves.
Yeah.
Now to suddenly in this kind of like in we live in like a young, like I'm speaking to my people now, right? My generation, the millennials, right?
Right.
We live because once again we have seen things, but we ain't seen things,
Yeah.
right? And we
Agree.
live in an entitled justice,
Yes.
right? Where we say, like, well, we should have it. Yes, we should. But when has it ever really been given to us?
Yeah.
We've always had to take it.
Yeah.
We've always had to been the ones to create that change for ourselves.
Yeah.
So this goes back to the baton conversation. We have to learn the struggles of those who went before us. We have to learn their wisdom on things. And while some things that they didn't work, it wasn't always perfect, but there was a reason that they did it. And
Yeah.
if we can get to the root of some of those things
Yeah.
and understand the reasoning, then it can help us reform. And once we do that, that's us taking the baton and
Yeah.
influencing our communities, influencing our leaders. It's always had to be us, bro. It's
Yeah.
always going to have to be us. And when we get to that point where we can reignite our communities, our communes, like our collective efforts, then we can start to see that positive influence in the places that we need to see it first before we can ever expect anybody else to create it for us.
Yes, sir. I want to, and I want to go here. I'm not going to hold you all night. I feel like we're reaching our end, but I want to go here because this might just be the most important part of the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
which is we know where we are, we know what's going on, and what do we do? And you just pretty much said exactly what that is. I want you to expound. We left off earlier. Earlier, mantles are dropping, batons are being passed. Great, amazing, awesome. They don't just fall, and they're not just passed. You cannot, just as you were saying, you and your team in the race, you cannot run the race you're supposed to run if you don't understand what it took for the ones before you to run their race. Because how they ran their race will give you the insight on how you need to do and what you need to do in order to get yours. If you're 5'5" and the next person's 6'5", that's a really, really large stretch. You need to understand this stretch from getting the baton from this 6'5" in order to continue smoothly.
Yeah.
And with us, I don't believe we have all the information. It's available. Let me go back. The information is available, but we haven't studied it. If someone does believe that they are carrying the weight and the pressure of the influence that a Martin Luther King that a William Seymour had, because just as you said, and when you said it, it took me completely out, because the truth of the matter is, in this generation, God is throwing things back out on the earth fresh, because as we know it, these are the last days. I will pour out my spirit, right? That is happening in this time.
Yeah.
And because of that, there are new things that are being dropped. But as we know it, nothing is ever new. It's going to be things we've seen before, is going to be poured in a new way. What is the importance for me as if I say I'm a young reverend and I believe that God is pouring his spirit back into the church and he's bringing a new awakening, he's bringing a new revival, and I believe that I'm called to be at the hem of that, at the threshold of that movement. what's the importance in me going back and looking at the context of which a William Seymour, was pushing and fighting to figure out, the spirit exists. These things exist. How do we get that to become a part of our day? What is the importance in me going back and finding out this information that is still relevant, and then me bringing this back out in a new way in this generation?
Yeah, one of the most diabolical plans of culture was the misinformation of our history. Because if you don't know where you've been,
Yes, sir.
you can't know where you're going.
Yes, sir.
You can't. So one of the worst things that ever happened to us was the way that they taught us in the textbooks.
Yep.
One of the worst things that happened to us was the way that they redefined slavery to indentured servitude.
Yep.
One of the worst things to happen to us was the space that we were taught that those who made significant strides in our communities didn't make as big of strides as they really truly did.
Yeah.
So the thing, to answer your question, the thing that is most important is reconnecting.
Yeah.
Because if I carry the spirit of a Sam Cooke, if I'm called to make space in entertainment and I carry the spirit of a Sam Cooke, I'll never know what that looked like.
Yeah.
I'll spin my wheels trying to figure out how I can take my Sam Cooke sound and make it sound like Trey Songz.
That's it.
If I don't know what a George Washington Carver looked like,
yes, sir,
then I'm going to take all of my innovation and put it toward things that are meaningless, that might just make me some money. If I don't know what Madam C.J. Walker did, if I didn't see that, then I will spend my wheels and my efforts trying to become the next whatever at L'Oreal, And it's not that you're not in the right space.
Right.
You're in the right space, but you're not filling the right place.
My goodness.
Or rather, let me say it like this. You're in the right place, but you're not filling the right space. I'll say it like this. There was a thing that we think about when we think about Dennis Rodman and this documentary that they did, The Last Dance, right?
Last Dance.
He said, it took me 3 years to learn that rebounding was my game. It took him 3 years in the league to learn that rebounding was his game.
Yep.
Now, it didn't mean that he was playing the wrong sport. It just meant that he was playing the wrong game.
Right.
Some of us are in the right place. Like we're playing the right sport, but we're not filling the right space within it because we don't know what it looks like to do that.
Yeah.
So it's important for us to go back and connect with that and connect with those who did. Connect with those. So for instance, right? Connect with those like a Reverend King who was a reverend but didn't shy away from politics.
Yeah.
Talking about it, right? Yeah. If that's the space, now there's not everybody, but if that's the space that you're supposed to fill, then you should know what that looks like so you can fill it.
Absolutely.
So it's extremely important for us to do that, man. I think for those of us who have the knowledge, once again, it's not our fault that our brothers and sisters may have been miseducated.
Yeah.
But it's our responsibility to educate them.
Yeah.
Because if we expect to progress as a community, as a nation, then it's important for us to know who we are. Yes, and be honest about who we are, so that we can grow from who we are into who we're supposed to be. Yes, and I say that as a singular identity, as a nation. But in order for us to do that collectively as a nation, and even as a community, even as an Afro community, it's important for us to all identify with those singular identities.
Yeah,
who we are.
Yeah,
and history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Mm. I'm not the first one to hit this world who has the same kind of message that I have. It's been here before. I just have to connect to it. I got to find it so that I can start to see where there were some successes and how I can begin to change some things. So it's important to connect with that, connect with the voices who have gone before you that connect to what's inside of you. Once you can do that, then you can really start moving faster into where you're supposed to be, and not try to figure out, oh man, like, and I understand it too, right? There are some things that are done in this world that no one, I mean, like, even think about our brother Mark Moore, right? Like, I mean, nobody's really done like this stuff that he's been doing,
Yeah.
like in the way that he's been doing it.
Yeah.
People have done it. You feel me? God's given him a unique space to do it.
Absolutely.
So it would be foolish of us to suggest, well, I'm just out here on my own, and you know, I might. And here's the thing: you might be a trailblazer, but you ain't the only trailblazer.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's time for us to get out of this mindset that says that because I'm in a unique space that I'm the only one.
That's in a unique.
Can't learn from nobody. No, you got to go back. You got to connect. I guarantee you, if you do, it is out there for you to see. You can learn from it. You can progress from it. And it doesn't mean that you have to do what they did and how they did it, but it does mean that you can at least see somebody's voice and spirit that connects with what you're supposed to do here on the earth.
Yes, sir.
I'll never speak exactly like Martin Luther King.
Right.
But I identify with his voice.
Yes, sir.
So it's important for us to do that. And the way that we do that is by educating one another and being able to say, when I see it, that I show it in somebody else and say, you know what? I see this in you. Let me show you where I've seen this in history. I mentioned my family before, bro. There was a guy who walked up to me in our community, and in St. Louis. This was when I was working at the church. I was kind of working executive function as pastors, and I was also doing the young adults pastor, and I was like working the grounds of the church. Yes, and I was kind of just doing a walk around the buildings and whatnot. And there's this guy in the community who walks up to me, and he starts to talk to me about my great grandfather, whom I never met. Right? Like, he passed before I was even born.
Yeah.
He starts talking to me about my great grandfather and all the things that he did in the community and his spirit and all this stuff. Mind you, never met this man before in my life.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there, I'm engaging him, I'm having a conversation with him. Now, he hasn't been to our church, he just lives in the community, but he remembers my great grandfather.
Yeah.
He says to me, you know, you remind me a lot of him. Like your spirit reminds me a lot of your great grandfather. Now, he didn't know he was talking about my great grandfather, but you know, he's like just telling me that I reminded him of a man that he admired in the history of our city.
Yeah.
That generation is used to that.
Yeah.
That generation will tell you, you know what? You got something in you. I've seen this before. Let me connect you to it.
Yes,
Let me tell you where this is.
Yes, sir.
We got to start doing that, bro. We got to be, and we have to, and it's not a false humility. It's not a fake hype. It is true celebration of who we are and who we know each other to be, to say, listen, I see this in you. I celebrate that in you. Yeah. It may not be in me, but I celebrate the fact that it's in you, and I've seen it before, and I've seen how great it can be, and I want to connect you to it.
Yeah.
There might be a voice out there right now, man, who has the message of Dr. King, or who has the message of great men and women in this world, and they just have to be connected to it.
Yeah.
And we have to be the conduits for which others can connect.
Yes, sir. We're gonna go here, and then we're gonna get out the way.
Okay.
Given our climate, and I really don't want to go into specifics because we just had this conversation, of course, the other night when He Say, She Say, and it was definitely emotionally taxing.
Yeah.
You can, in that moment, and I don't know if you can relate, but in that moment, you can definitely feel the pressure of a culture, because just as you said, anytime we raise our voice to speak on certain things, not only are we speaking for us in that moment into that audience, but we're speaking on behalf of an entire culture. And you can literally feel the weight of that. And so I don't want to send us back into that space.
Yeah.
But what I do want to speak on is the idea of leadership for us in such a culture, in such a period, in such a climate. We're in a climate where, you know, somebody's driving by and they slow down. You're like, what are we doing? You know, if a cop car comes out, you're looking like, you're trying to figure out a way to really get that car to go past you. You're looking to do certain things when you see certain things instinctively. That's the
Yeah.
climate that we live in right now. How do we lead others? How are we to be led in this climate? We have you've got football players and other. It's a. I, I'm going to be honest. There is real life currency that you hold, and what I mean by that is some of us, not our weight cannot fully be explained by the social media hype or lack of it that we do or do not have.
Yeah.
Some of us in real life are holding some serious weight. And honestly, in this pandemic time, God has been like, okay, here goes social media, boom. And social media is now catching up to where we've always been in real life. That's very much so, I believe, the case for you. And
Wow,
and
man.
how are you? How are you? No, absolutely. How are you leading and how are you looking for our generation of people that have those young people literally looking up to us as if we're 40, 50, and 60? How do we lead that in this climate? What does leadership in that realm look like right now?
Yeah, man. So I think when we talk about influence, because that's what we're talking about, leadership, influence, it's important to always remember that the reason we switch the words is all about order,
Yeah.
right? So I might do something that's influential, but if I do that influential thing
Yes, sir.
after someone else has done that influential thing,
Yes, sir.
then I'm not necessarily called a leader, right? It might still be influential, but I'm
Right.
not necessarily called a leader. Like the person who went first was called the leader, right? Like they led this revolution, they
Yep.
led this social change, they led, right? Because they went first.
Yeah.
I think when we think about how we influence others to have hard conversations with people who don't look like them, when we want to influence others on how to respond to certain things that are going on in the world, it's important that we don't get in our own ways
Yeah.
and we go first. We can't be so caught up on what might happen to us if we say something.
Yeah.
We can't get so caught up on what might happen to our money if we say something. And at some point, what's happening to someone else has to become more important than what could happen to us.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that again. What's happening
Yeah.
to someone else has to become more important than what could happen to us.
Yeah.
We're dealing in possibility here. They're dealing in reality. Like this thing happened to somebody. You feel me? And it's important that we go first. It's important that people know it's okay. It's important that people know that they can. It's
Yeah.
important that people know that they have it in them to do. It's
Yeah.
important that people know that they don't have to be perfect to do it. It's important that people see that there's something that they can do. One of
Yeah.
the interesting questions that I think is coming out of this that a lot of people are connecting with me and talking through is the question of what do we do, right? Like, okay, what do I do? And my initial thought is, well, like, what's the first thing that you think about doing? Do it. Like go first. Like learn. You know what I mean? And it's not like, and here's something that I think we have to deal with as well, which is not popular, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Some of us want the platform of social change
Yeah.
more than we want the actual purpose of it, right? I want the platform of it. Like I want to be the one that they call on CNN the next time they want somebody's opinion on it. I want to be the one that goes to the speech and they chant
Right.
because I said something off the wall. I
Right.
want to be the one that they blow up on social media because my video went viral. I
Yep.
want to be the one that put up a tweet and the hashtag went viral because I said something cool. I
That's
want to
it.
be why? Because I want to be
That's it.
seen as the proprietor of
Right.
change more than I want the change itself. And once again, that is me saying that what's happening to someone else has to be more important than what could happen to you, positive or negative.
Yeah.
Meaning, even if you do blow up, so what? Did
That's
it change? Yeah, my poem may have went viral, but did anything change?
yeah.
All of this stuff is great. These are ways that we express ourselves. All
Yeah.
that stuff is great. All I'm saying is when we really connect to that purpose of it, then
Yeah.
that drives us and lets us move a little more freely than
Yeah.
it would be like, well, what's the cause and effect? Like, what happens if this? Like, go first, man. Just go, speak up, say something, and do it first. Don't wait to see. I'm gonna wait see if somebody else say something and then I'm gonna say something. No,
Mhm.
say it first. Why?
Yeah.
Because you don't know who you will influence by saying something. We don't. Earlier this week, Bishop Jason Nelson put a song out, like just like a quick little song after George Floyd's murder, right?
Yeah.
You know, like there's no way of knowing what that song would have done. There's no way of knowing whether anybody would have listened to it. There's no way of knowing whether anybody would have shared it.
Yeah.
Didn't stop him.
Yeah.
I put out a video today, bro. I put out a video today about connection
Yeah.
and the importance of it. With everything going on in the world right now, I could have been like, you know what? This video is probably not going to get that much play because everybody's attention is everywhere. There's too much stuff going on. There's riots on the news, all that stuff. So I'm going to just wait.
Yep.
Didn't stop me.
Yep.
Because you don't know whose words or whose healing comes by your words. You don't know whose purpose comes by your words.
Yes, sir.
You don't know.
Yes, sir.
So you have to go first. Influence. You have to go first. Don't wait till somebody else is doing it to tag on and say, I'm going to add my name to it. Go first. If God has put something in you, don't keep it in you. Develop it and send it out into the world because the world needs it. And it's important to note this as well, especially in this age, like we don't ever want to say the wrong thing and all stuff. It's important to note that we're not asked to be perfect.
Yeah.
We're just asked to like go after purpose. I don't want to be so consumed with putting perfect things out that I never put purpose things out.
Listen.
I have to put myself in a position that says whatever it is that's in me, whatever is in me to say,
yes, sir.
Whatever God. And once again, I think it's really important that we preface this with the leading of the Lord, right? Like Don, because some of y'all got some stuff in y'all that ain't of God.
Come on.
But there are some things that might be in you to say, and I think it's important to say. And we don't know where this thing is going to go, so I'll go ahead and say this as well. For those of you who don't look like me, that goes for you too.
Yeah.
If God put something in you to say, if God put a thought in you, don't leave it in you. Share it, even if it's countercultural to the people around you.
Yeah.
Share it. If God put something, if God says to you, or if you have like a real strong feeling, right? I would call that the leading of the Holy Spirit. But if you just have this real strong feeling that says, you know what, I should go and show up at this protest and let my voice be heard with my brothers and sisters. No matter whether the people in your C-suite at the office are going to be there or not, do it anyway.
Yeah.
Because you don't know, and I'm gonna share this, like people don't know how much people's presence means to others. Like when I saw people who didn't look like me out there marching with signs, speaking up, letting their voice be heard, that did something for me. Yeah. Because with everything going on right now, the messaging is that we can't come together. But the devil is a liar. We can. Yes, sir. We are.
Yes, sir.
We will.
Yes, sir.
Like at the end of the day, like I don't know why we let people's stories and like the media and all that stuff do this to us, at the end of the day, God will be glorified.
Yes,
He
he
has
will.
the final say.
Come on, Lawrence.
And because I know he's got the final say, I have no choice but to hold on to the hope that is built on the blood of Jesus Christ
Yes, sir.
that put all of this sin and infirmity on the cross.
Yes, sir.
And not even one of, but a sin.
Yeah.
It's this racism, it's this
Yes, sir.
division, it's this fear, it's this hatred. That is a sin thing.
Yes,
And
it is.
Jesus already took care of it.
Yes,
So
he
we
did.
already won, bro.
Yes, sir.
We already won. So since I know we already won, I still have hope.
Yes, sir. Come on.
Now the question is, will I lead and influence to give somebody else that same hope?
Wow.
Will I speak up so that they can see that somebody cares about them so that they can have hope?
Wow.
Will I show up so that they can see that somebody cares and they can have hope? Will I stand up so that they can see that somebody cares and they can have hope? When we choose, all right, I said all that to say this, bro. If you want to figure out what you can do, stand up, show up, speak up.
Yes, sir.
You want to know, it ain't even always about what you say, but it's the fact that you said something that can give somebody else hope. If there's one thing that we need more than anything right now, it is hope.
Yes, it is.
My hope is built on nothing less.
Nothing less.
But somebody else's hope might be built on your presence.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
that can help them find the same hope that I have.
You're right. You're right.
Show up, man. Just show up. Speak up, stand up.
Man, I first of all, if you've been watching, if you've shared it, if you've liked or hearted, whatever you've done, I want to say thank you, number one. Second, Lawrence, my brother, my friend, I want to say thank you for an hour plus of healthy dialogue for us, by us. I appreciate you. And lastly, I want you to, whatever words of hope you do have, and if praying is on your spirit, I want to give you the next few fleeting moments to get off of your chest and mind whatever is there. Once again, bro, I don't know. You really maxed out like at the 20-minute mark. And so, and so everything since then has been overkill. And so I really appreciate you. I really, really, really do.
You, man.
But more than just for me and for the platform or for whatever, I appreciate you for the next person that gets to see it. That's what I really appreciate, is the fact that somebody in the midnight hour somewhere is going to be on Facebook watching whatever, and for whatever reason, the algorithms of Facebook is going to make this pop up, and someone is going to get what you just mentioned, hope. Hope. Someone's going to get hope, because we decided, out of the multitude of things that we have to do, to get on here and speak about that one word, and that's hope. The floor is yours, bro.
First of all, thanks, man. I appreciate this opportunity. This has been great. Like I said, leadership is a passion of mine.
Yeah.
And I think when it's absent, it's so easy for people to lose hope.
Yeah.
Because remember, we talked about the importance of influence and being able to submit to someone else's influence to help them shape your mind, your thoughts, your movements, and how you go about the world. And when we have an absence of it, it's hard for people to gauge whether or not they're really moving about the way that they should.
Yeah.
Messaging is important, and influences is important. And when we have people who will take seats that they sit in and use those influences negatively, it doesn't do the people who need that influence any favors, and they continue to lose hope because they don't see that people can stand up, speak up, and show up for them. So if I could leave this space with anything, man, it is this, and this is what I've been feeling for the past week. If I look back over my life and think about every single thing that I have done that dishonors God.
Yes, sir.
I would tell you, man, I do not deserve his love. I don't deserve it, man. I don't deserve a single thing that he does for me. Yet he shows me favor every day. I don't deserve the breath that I breathe, yet he graces me with it every day. I don't deserve the influence that he gives me, yet he increases it daily.
Daily.
And if I call myself his child, if I call myself one of the siblings of Jesus, right, being the firstborn of many, right?
Yeah.
Uh, if that's what I call myself, then I have to also extend to the best of my ability
Yeah.
the grace, the love, the favor that we were extended through the sacrifice of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's to everybody. That's not just the people who look like me.
Yeah.
That's not just the people who like me. That's
Yeah.
to everybody. Because when whew, because when I was out doing whatever I wanted to do,
Reverend.
I became an enemy of God.
My goodness.
Yet he still loved me.
Yes, he did.
When I was doing things that did not honor him, he still loved me. He didn't take it away from me.
Yes,
As a
sir.
matter of fact, he protected me in my mess.
Yes, he did.
And I have been feeling an overwhelming sense of love, like the love of God, that says, you know what? Racism is such a sin. It is such a sin. And I hate that sin. I hate all sin. But I have hope in the hearts and the souls of those who have these bad sin problems. I don't hate them. I love them because their soul matters to me. Like if we were just to gain the heart of God,
Yeah. Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
he'll give us the wisdom on how to treat them. And this is what I didn't get to share earlier in the week. But it's often at the times that we need forgiveness the most that when it's extended to us, our hearts change. We talked about having a willing heart. Many of life's changes happen when we were in the worst positions of our lives.
That's true.
And those who had cause to judge us, those who had cause to throw the first stone,
Yeah.
didn't. And when they didn't, it did something to my heart. It opened up that heart of stone and allowed the flesh to be revealed so that the Holy Spirit could get a grip on it.
Yeah.
And for those of us who have been victimized, for those of us who have been hated, for those of us who have had heinous things done to us, for those of us who have had terrible things said to us, we have every right to hate. We have every right to dislike. We have every right to cast the first proverbial stone. But the thing that's been on my heart recently, man, is to be like Jesus and say, I'm the only one who stands here who can throw it. And I lay it down. I think that love, that crazy love, that ridiculous love, that ridiculous grace is the thing that's going to help change some hearts. It may not change all, it probably won't. But if we could get to a place where our hearts are opened enough to his leading and his
Yeah.
wisdom and his spirit so that we can receive that love from him. Once again, like I said, he who is forgiven much loves much. And
Yeah.
I know how much I've been forgiven.
Yeah.
How much more? How much more should I do that to my fellow brother here on earth who needs it? Here's what we don't always acknowledge. They need it.
Yeah.
Like I needed it. I needed it from God. I needed the sacrifice of Jesus in order to redeem me back into right relationship with God.
Yeah.
And many of them don't know it, but they need it. And it often comes from the people who have the right to judge you and have the right to do harm.
Yes, sir.
That when they don't do it, it can affect your heart.
Yeah.
I believe this thing, man. I believe it so strongly. And when we want to talk about going first, we want to talk about influence, we want to talk about leadership. That's something that we have to do first.
Yeah.
You want to go first? Go first in loving them. Go first in doing the hardest thing to do right now. Go first in doing the thing that might feel and even seem impossible.
Mm.
And here's the beauty of it. If we look at our history, bro, we ain't never stopped. We so relentless. We we can endure such traumatic events and still love. We've been doing it.
Yeah.
I'm just asking my people to keep doing it. Keep loving, keep extending God's love, and allow God to fill your heart with so much of it that it can't help but spill out of your pores. If we do that, hearts are changing. They're changing now. I see it. They're
Yes,
changing now. And they will continue to change.
yes, sir.
The battle is never over
Yes, sir.
if God ain't won yet. We don't fight for victory, bro. We fight from victory. It's already won. We just got to endure. We got to endure. We got to keep loving. And we can't let, here's the thing, bro. We can't let what other people do to us
Yeah.
to change our conviction.
Yeah. That's it.
Like if it's my conviction, if this is what I call myself,
Yeah.
I can't allow what you do to turn me into you.
Absolutely.
You hate me for no cause. I have cause, but choose not to hate.
My goodness.
You persecute me for no cause. I have cause, yet hold back my stone.
My God.
We can't allow what others do to us to turn us into them. And if we could just endure and allow God's love, his wisdom, his spirit to guide us as he has for centuries.
Yeah.
I truly believe that we are about to see a revival unlike one that we have ever seen before, where the people of God, our people, the chosen people, the people that God is coming back for,
Yes,
the
sir.
church is going to lead such a revolution
Yes,
in
sir.
the ways that people think, the ways that people feel, the convictions of people's hearts.
Yeah.
I've seen it on phone calls that have come into me this week, that God has pricked the hearts of people who don't look like me.
Yeah.
I know it. I feel it. I sense it. But the way that it's going to happen is if we are obedient to the spirit of God that tells us to love those who don't look like us,
Yes,
love
sir.
those who continue to persecute us,
Yes, sir.
continue to show the relentless love of God. Because if we can do that, if we are obedient in that, God will turn it ain't our job to change them.
No, it's not.
That belongs to God. And God is counting on us to go first, to
Yes.
influence. How can they hear lest there's a preacher?
Come on.
How can they see lest there's a prophet, bro? Like, how in the world are we going to expect them to open up to the fullness of God's love? Because some of them think they know it.
Right.
How can we expect them to open up to the fullness of it if we don't extend a little bit of it to them first?
Yeah.
We got to go first. And I truly believe that this revival is on the verge. It is happening already. And we are about to see it turn all the way around. And we would be remiss to let it come and go and not say that we were a part of it.
Yes,
and
sir.
so if I were to offer any prayer, it is my prayer that tonight, that God in our communities and our people, that you fill their hearts with so much love and grace, that the hatred that some of them are feeling right now, the pain that some of them are feeling right now, the anguish that some of them are feeling right now begins to be relieved, that you begin to show them the wisdom of your ways, show them the wisdom of your words, so that they can go into the places that we do not want to go, that they can speak to the people that they do not want to speak to, and show them an extenuation of the love that you have extended to us. Because we know that had it not been for you, we would be in places far worse than they. There, but for the grace of God, go we. And we do not want to be in the same place, carrying the same hatred, carrying the same angst, carrying the same fear. God, I ask that you relieve it. I ask that you give us the strength to go about our day. I ask that you give us the ways of you, that you allow us to move through the world without carrying the weight of it, that you give us the ways that we can relieve the fear through love, that we
Yes,
can
Lord.
love our neighbors, and that we don't automatically expect their love back, but the fulfillment is that we were able to extend the love in the
Yes,
first place.
Lord.
God, I ask that our contentment come from you and not who likes us. I
Yes,
ask that our
Lord.
contentment come from you and not those who give us anything, not those who don't want to persecute us. We know that you were persecuted, and if they persecuted you, then we should expect that the persecution will be on us. So as we extend that love, as we extend that grace, as we extend what it is that you put on the inside of us, God,
Yes,
I
Lord.
ask that you let our fulfillment be that our fulfillment is that we carried the cross, that we carried the weight of love, that we carried what we had to carry in order to get to the place to say, this
Yes.
day, we will be with our Father. And to the one who has done us wrong, to the one who has sinned against us, we can reach our hand out to them as well and say, because you've done it through your son, Jesus Christ,
My
that we say this day, they shall
this day.
also be. Why? Not because of what we've experienced here on the earth, but because of what you've done in heaven. Let it be done right now here on earth. You told us whatever it is that we bind here on earth shall be
Yes,
bound in
Lord.
heaven, whatever we
Yes,
loose.
Lord.
So right now, I loose the love that we need. I loose the grace that we need, the wisdom that we need. God, I loose it and I bind up the fear. I bind up the racism. I bind up all of the contention between demographics. God, it is not your desire. I know it is not your desire that we should live in a space where we're afraid of one another, brother against brother, believer against believer. God, that is not your desire for us. So I pray that you reconcile that relationship through your love, through your grace. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Give us the wisdom and the love and the grace to go first. There are leaders on this call, there are influencers on this call, and I'm asking you now that you push us to going first, that you make us okay with being uncomfortable, that you give us the wisdom, that you give us the strength and the strategy on how to change the ways of this world through your spirit. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Doc, go sleep somewhere, bro. Go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down,
I believe
bro.
this thing, bro. I believe this thing. It's changing. I believe it. I
It's
believe it.
bro. I once again, I didn't thank you about 10
Got me
times.
sweating, bro. I'm going straight into intercession.
Listen, that's where you went, bro. And I don't want to just thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for your passion for us. I want to thank you for your passion for change. I want to thank you for your passion for where we need to go. I want to thank you for your passion for our history. And I want to thank you for our passion for our future. Bro, if no one told you today, I love you, man.
Love
I
you too,
love
man.
you, not just
Appreciate
with
you,
the
dog.
love of Christ, but I love you as my brother, bro. And I'm thankful that you are in my part of the community, man. And I can't wait to see what more we can do in the future. Um, God bless you and everything that you're doing, whatever endeavors that you're doing, all the projects that you have coming out. We're going to do our best to support. I will do my best to support
I
as
appreciate you,
I'm
dog.
doing. And bro, I thank you, I thank you for sharing your heart with us, because essentially that's what you did. You opened us up to a little bit of your heart, and for that, bro, I thank you. To everyone that's tuned in, to everybody that's been a part of the conversation tonight, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part. This was, of course, another episode of Conversations with the Politician. And I can't wait to do it again. For those that keep on tuning in and sharing and tagging your friends, sending it to your friends, I appreciate it. I'm just a mere man, not perfect, but willing. And we thank God that, there are some of us willing. And as my brother, some of us that are ready to cry out for a whole culture, for a whole nation, and for a world. So until next time, y'all be safe. Wear your mask, wear your gloves.
Yes.
We're not catching the corona or its spirit. Huh? We're gonna we're gonna stay safe, and we're gonna stay in a place of health. Until next time, God bless you all.